Did you know that Red Bull could be behind a secret leak attempting to destabilize McLaren in the middle of the 2025 season? What seemed like a simple political maneuver could change the course of the championship and Verstappen's future. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, do you think Red Bull is playing fair this season? What's really behind the accusations that could put Red Bull and Max Verstappen in jeopardy? In this video, I'm going to tell you all about the growing tension between Red Bull and McLaren, the leaks that are shaking the paddock, and how this directly affects Max Verstappen. In the 2025 Formula One season, we are seeing a turn of events that few expected. McLaren has become the dominant team, while Red Bull, the dominant force in recent years, is struggling to remain competitive. Oscar Piastri comfortably leads the championship, with his teammate Lando Norris following close behind. Max Verstappen, on the other hand, is facing a difficult season and finds himself far from the top, something that would have been unthinkable just a year ago. This change of scenery has created great tension in the paddock. McLaren is not only winning races, it is setting a pace that seems unattainable for its rivals. Red Bull, for its part, is facing both technical and strategic difficulties and appears to be losing the leading position it had built in recent seasons. The pressure within Red Bull is increasingly evident. The results are not coming along, the car is not performing as expected, and meanwhile, McLaren continues to rack up victories. This context is key to understanding why things are starting to spiral out of control and why accusations are emerging that go far beyond what happens on the court. After several seasons in which Verstappen and Red Bull seemed almost invincible, the team now faces a completely different reality. This year's car, the RB21, is not performing as expected. In fact, it is far from the technical level it needs to fight for the championship. Red Bull, which for years was the team to beat, is rapidly losing ground and is unable to find effective solutions to reverse the situation. McLaren's advantage is no coincidence. They have developed a solid car, extremely competitive in the race, and especially strong in tire management, something Red Bull has been unable to match. In high-temperature conditions, where other teams suffer from wear, McLaren maintains a stable and consistent pace. This has been key to their winning most of their races so far. At this point, the most striking aspect is not only Red Bull's decline in performance, but also what is reportedly happening off the track. In recent weeks, very serious rumors have begun to circulate accusing Red Bull of using underhanded tactics to try to slow McLaren's progress. According to reports from specialized media outlets such as Automotor UND Sport, Red Bull has reportedly been leaking internal information about FIA technical directives with the intention of indirectly harming McLaren. These rumors indicate that, after the Imola Grand Prix, Red Bull was responsible for disseminating strategic details about certain regulations, with the aim of generating pressure on the Woking team and, in particular, on the legality of its aerodynamic components. The idea was to imply that McLaren was gaining advantages that could be at the limits of the regulations. This strategy sought to create uncertainty around McLaren's performance and provoke technical interventions that would force them to modify their cars. But Red Bull's alleged tactics did not end there. According to leaks, Red Bull has been sending constant complaints to the FIA about McLaren's front and rear wings. Furthermore, they have also reportedly insisted on reviewing the British team's tire cooling systems, insinuating that McLaren was using solutions that could covertly violate the regulations. These complaints don't always make it into official statements, but within the paddock, they are known to be constant and are part of a pressure game that Red Bull appears to be taking to the limit. What's most interesting is that these maneuvers aren't entirely new for Christian Horner or those within Red Bull. Last season, in 2024, Horner had already been embroiled in a major controversy over leaks that directly affected him. At the time, private messages attributed to Horner were publicly exposed and sparked a scandal in the early days of the season. Horner later explained that these leaks had been planned to cause maximum personal and professional damage, and that the ultimate goal was even to pressure him to leave Red Bull. This background has created an environment where any leak is now viewed with suspicion and where theories about possible retaliation or hidden strategies are multiplying. Current rumors also indicate that Horner's public statements are part of this alleged political game. He has made comments that appear to underestimate the team's own expectations, saying, for example, that a podium finish would be a good result in certain races, something that doesn't fit with Red Bull's historical aspirations. Furthermore, Horner has hinted that McLaren drivers will, at some point, have to start considering their own interests above those of the team, suggesting that the internal rivalry between Piastri and Norris could explode and weaken McLaren from within. Amid all this controversy, Red Bull maintains a complex position. On the one hand, team management insists they're doing nothing out of the ordinary. Christian Horner has publicly argued that complaints about McLaren are part of normal Formula One practice, and that every team has the right to question its rivals when there are technical concerns. According to Horner, Red Bull is focused on improving its performance and solving its own problems, not attacking other teams. However, that version doesn't convince everyone in the paddock, where many believe Red Bull is using political tools to try to regain ground they have lost on the track. Horner himself has sent mixed signals throughout the season. At times, he has acknowledged that McLaren is at a higher level, even saying they are in a league of their own. But at the same time, he has made comments that seem to downplay Red Bull's chances, such as when he stated that achieving a podium finish would be an acceptable result. For a team that has been accustomed to winning, these kinds of statements sound strange and fuel the perception that something is not right internally. At the same time, Max Verstappen's position within the team is also going through a delicate moment. Verstappen has always been forthright when it comes to assessing the car's performance, and this season has been no exception. He has been clear in admitting that the RB21 is not at McLaren's level, and has even gone so far as to say that the car is probably the fourth fastest on the grid, behind McLaren, Ferrari, and Mercedes. These kinds of statements show that Verstappen is fully aware of his car's limitations and is unwilling to sugarcoat reality. For Verstappen, the frustration isn't just about the results. It's also about the feeling that the team isn't finding effective solutions to the car's structural issues. The RB21 has displayed serious deficiencies in balance, especially in medium-speed corners, where the car becomes unpredictable and difficult to handle. This directly affects the driver's confidence, as he feels like he's constantly fighting the car rather than getting the most out of it. Verstappen has made it clear on several occasions that the team urgently needs to study what McLaren is doing differently to achieve such consistent performance. Internally, Red Bull is trying to contain the situation. They have accelerated the development of new updates and are preparing major changes for the upcoming races, but the team's own engineers admit that the car's fundamental problems won't disappear quickly. This means that, at least in the short term, Red Bull will have to live with these limitations while trying to minimize the gap to McLaren. It's an uncomfortable scenario for a team that until recently was used to setting the pace in Formula One. For Red Bull, the situation is critical. If they don't regain competitiveness soon, they run the real risk of losing their biggest star. And in a championship where every detail counts, the loss of a driver like Verstappen could mean the difference between remaining a protagonist or fading into the background. Looking ahead to the upcoming races, Red Bull is working against the clock to try to turn things around. The team has prepared a package of updates that, according to what they've announced in Milton Keynes, will be the most significant of the season so far. This package will include modifications to the car's floor, aerodynamic tweaks, and changes to the front suspension. The intention is to correct some of the most serious issues that have plagued the RB21 since the start of the season. However, while these updates will be available for the Austrian Grand Prix, they are known to be optimized for Silverstone, indicating that Red Bull is thinking beyond the next race and focusing on a medium-term plan. The challenge facing Red Bull is not just technical. It's also psychological. The team needs to show clear signs of recovery to maintain the confidence of Max Verstappen and everyone around him. They know that if they fail to improve in the upcoming rounds, the pressure on Horner and the team management will increase significantly. Even with the upcoming updates, Red Bull itself is already acknowledging that some of the car's weaknesses likely won't be fully resolved this season. What they're looking for now is to reduce the magnitude of those problems enough to get back into the fight for wins and at least stay in the championship conversation. Meanwhile, McLaren appears to be playing it smart. They've been very cautious in introducing new parts and have no intention of risking their current lead. The team is banking on consistency, maintaining the line that has allowed them to dominate the first races of the year, and doesn't want to introduce changes that could create uncertainty. This conservative strategy is working for them and could consolidate their position as the leading team for the remainder of the season. Political tension between Red Bull and McLaren is also expected to continue to grow. Complaints, pressure on the FIA, and arguments over the legality of certain parts are unlikely to disappear. These types of power plays tend to remain active throughout the season when the stakes are so high. After reviewing this entire scenario, it's clear that the situation between Red Bull and McLaren has reached a level of tension that transcends the sporting realm. What began as simple rumors has now become a true silent war, where accusations, leaks, and political games are on par with the competition on the track. The moves Red Bull makes in the coming weeks will be crucial because not only is the current season at stake, but also the stability of the team and the permanence of its most important driver, Max Verstappen. The truth is that, today more than ever, all eyes are on Max Verstappen and the decisions he will make in the coming months. The outcome of this story goes far beyond the races. What Verstappen does and how Red Bull responds will mark the course of Formula One, not only for this season, but for the coming years. The pressure is on, and every move will be crucial. I'd like to hear your opinion. Do you think Verstappen should stay at Red Bull and rebuild the team? Or do you think it would be better for him to seek a new challenge elsewhere? Leave me your comment.